Hi, welcome to the Offsides podcast. I'm Josh, and I'm joined today by a special guest. This is a former MSU club football teammate of John and I's, Mr. Stephen Thayer.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for having me on today. It's always fun to get together and talk some sports.
And that's what we're going to be doing here today. Today we have our playoff predictions for the NBA. Now, this is going to be recorded before Days 1's games, but probably won't be released until the day after. So just want to let you know we are not cheating with any of these by having a one-game head start. So we're going to start here. We're going to start in the West, work our way down, go to the East, and then go from there. And then maybe a few extra predictions, who possibly leading scorer, some crazy other predictions we could be having. So, all right, let's get cracking here. Our first matchup in the West, the Lakers and the Trailblazers. What are your thoughts on this one, Steven?
Well, it's such an interesting season when normally, people are so quick to take a one seed. And with the bubble and everything that's happened, really every result is in play. So, on the surface, maybe it looks like still pick the Lakers, but the Trailblazers have a really interesting case here, and you can look at what Damian Lillard has done this season in this bubble.
Mm-hmm.
What and I think some interesting things to look at with these two squads is okay. The bubble has helped the Blazers.
Yep.
They've got Nurkic back. They've got Zach Collins back. They're a much healthier squad than they were, whereas the Lakers has sort of trended the other direction. And Avery Bradley, when you have that kind of defense that's not there, and then Rajon Rondo, with him opting out, not being there, so and then what's LeBron gonna have to do? And I think we've seen this, and I believe the Lakers are 3-5 in the bubble.
Yep.
Anthony Davis is a superstar, but we saw it in New Orleans. He can't carry a team,
Mm-hmm.
and at least to my knowledge. And so this is going to be another LeBron show. If the Lakers are going to pull this off and make it all the way, it's going to be LeBron, and his sidekick will have to be Kyle Kuzma.
Yep.
And I think the Lakers will go as far as Kyle Kuzma will let them.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think he's going to be the X factor. Now, with all that being said, Damian Lillard has a real good chance here to put up another 60-point game, beat Michael Jordan's 63-point record in the playoffs. I think the Blazers, best shot is Lillard putting the team on his back. Now, Josh, I mean, where are your thoughts? I haven't made my selection yet, but where are your thoughts on this?
So as you kind of touched on a lot of the points, Trailblazers are 6-2, in the bubble, not including their play-in game, which would make them 7-2. As we've seen these last few games, they've gotten down, but have been able to catapult themselves back in the third and fourth quarter and eventually pull off a win. And these are must-win situations. I mean, that last game to get them into that A spot, they had to I believe it was the Nets. With that last game, they won it by one after clawing their way back, being down. It shows that they can come back and win. That they're not really afraid of the pressure. But these aren't the Lakers that they're going down and coming back against.
Right.
And that's where my issue is hey, you can do that against the Nets, the Pelicans, whoever. You're not going to do that against the Lakers, the Clippers, your top teams with your top superstars. And if they go down in games, they're not going to be able to come back. And if they do, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, they're going to be playing 40 minutes plus a game, and eventually it's going to wear that on them over a 7-game series. So I love to root for the little guy. I think the lower seed here, it works out being in a bubble, not giving the higher seed more home games. But personally, my prediction, I have the Lakers in 5.
In 5, wow.
In 5, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to take the Lakers too, and really the only reason I'm taking them is because I just really don't buy in to the Blazers defense. And
Mm-mm.
they were pretty bad during the regular season
Mm-hmm.
defensively. I think they were 27th in points per game,
Mm-hmm.
and they're even worse. I think they've given up about 8 more points per 100 possessions. So I just don't think that you're to your point with can the Blazers get into an offensive showdown? I think that's going to hurt them because their defense really just isn't quite there. And
Nope.
if KCP and the Lakers zone in on Lillard, I have a hard time seeing how they're going to come back on this. I love Lillard. I'm going to take the Lakers in 6.
Lakers in 6. All right, I can hop on board with that. I think they can steal a couple. I think the series, it's going to be closer than what it appears. I think you're going to have a lot of games inside of, 2 possessions. But I think each time, come on. And I know people say LeBron, not great in clutch situations and whatnot, but he's better historically than people give him credit for.
Sure.
And they have a lot of veterans that have been in these situations. It hurts not having Rondo because he's great in these situations. But I agree. Lakers moving on to the next one, so we'll put here Lakers in 6. All right, next one, your 4 and your 5, Houston Rockets and OKC Thunder. Give me your thoughts.
Both teams, I would definitely. The Thunder have been a huge surprise this entire season, really,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody expected with what they lost on their team. And they've been really strong. The Rockets, on the other hand, man, I heard now, Mike D'Antoni is all about the small ball and throwing it back. Like, hey, they're well coached, and James Harden, gosh, the guy puts the team on his back every night,
Mm-hmm.
and God, it's a hard matchup to decide. Obviously, you always have a hard time with 4 or 5 matchups,
Mm-hmm.
and boy, the West's availability is a question mark,
Mm-hmm.
but I think really the Thunder biggest problem for them is the glass. I think the Rockets have had an issue down low,
Mm-hmm.
and because they are going small ball, that is going to be something to watch for. When you have a guy like Steven Adams inside, that's going to create some issues for the Rockets. Now, I think they can make up for it because they do have great rebounding guards,
Yep.
and overall, I think the way that I'm a huge fan of analytic basketball, and the
Yep. For
Rockets
sure.
do that. They shoot the three. They will shoot 4 threes a game like they did the other night, and they might not make them all, but they're playing the numbers, and over the long haul, it's going to work. And of course, you're playing my Warriors a couple of years ago, but overall, I think. I think the Rockets are going to win this series. My favorite matchup is going to be the Westbrook versus Chris Paul. I
Mm-hmm.
think so. You know that. Let's see. Maybe you can advocate for the Thunder a little bit more, but I'm going to say the Rockets in 5 actually.
Rockets in 5. Okay. You do have the interesting story of Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook swapping teams here. Um, these are both guys that have something to prove. I mean, all year, Rockets are kind
Absolutely.
of, hey, can Westbrook and Harden coexist? Seems like forever ago now with the layoff and then going back to the bubble. But can Westbrook and Harden coexist? And Westbrook has shown that they have by he's become a more efficient player, more efficient scorer. I believe decrease in turnovers. Now his usage rate has dipped, but he's still a high volume guy that he gives that different dynamic to the Rockets offense and defense, honestly. Um, the Rockets can never seem to get over that hump. Can never
Yeah.
seem to in the playoffs they don't perform at what they're expected to. And it's same with Chris Paul. You know, Chris Paul has been on some real good teams, and whether it be injuries himself, teammates, whatever, his teams just can't seem to get over that hump. Now, the great thing here is both teams have lessened expectations. And so I think because of that, you're going to have elevated play. Um, it's it's tough here. The Rockets are going to have to shoot well, no doubt. And they've been a bit inconsistent at times. I think they'll be able to dial it in. But OKC plays some sound basketball. Both teams are 4-4. I think they had some tougher matchups in the bubble. But I at the end, I just think the Rockets have too much firepower. Um, I think this one. I think this one goes 6. Very even matchup, different styles. But I think the Rockets in 6 is my prediction
Yeah,
here.
and not to double back on the Thunder, but just to give them a little more credit here. I mean, Chris Paul has been elite for them since the restart,
No doubt.
and yeah, and he, like you said, he's got a lot to prove. They wanna upset Russell Westbrook, uh, and so there is, and they've had one of the stingiest defenses. I think they're third in points per game this season.
Mm-hmm.
So the Steven Adams is the small ball versus Steven Adams, but like I said, I think the Rockets can counter that. I think at the end of the day, they're they're gonna have a tough time with the Rockets. Now I think you're gonna see a lot of close games. It could be some overtime here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I'm gonna go with Houston at the end of this.
The one thing that does help the Thunder is, after what's it been, 2 years or something, they get Roberson back, and he's a top defender. So he is going to be able to, with Chris Paul, with Steven Adams, kind of help that defense limit the Rock. You're going to see some lower scoring games here than what the Rockets are used to. So it's going to be exciting. But you said the Rockets in how many games did you think?
I took them in 5.
In 5?
You know,
Yeah. Okay. Rockets in
I could
5
see it
there.
going 6 though. It's I'm not too bent on that.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna play it safe here. Go 6.
Okay.
Rockets here. 6. Here we go. All right. Cool. Our next matchup: Nuggets and Jazz. This is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Especially because Mike Conley just had to leave the bubble. Birth of his kid. So hey, congratulations there.
Yeah.
To Mike Conley, but I think that kind of changes things. The Jazz 3-5 in the bubble, had a few good games, had some real stinkers. I don't think they have the firepower to play with the Nuggets. The emergence of Michael Porter Jr. Is huge. That's another that he's shown he can, go and give you 30 points in a night. He did that, I believe, 3 times through this bubble. So him and Jokic alone, they're 2 dangerous guys in the offense that I think can carry this. They've got a deeper bench. Nuggets again, one of the best defensive teams. Real unselfish basketball. I just don't see how the Jazz really compete with that.
Yeah. you've got a lot of good points there. It's so hard to. You mentioned the bubble records. A lot of these teams have been inconsistent in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
It's been other than like your Suns, who've really gone undefeated. But I, yeah. So, but yeah, consistency. My only question is really consistency for the Nuggets, and because otherwise you hit everything on the head. Michael Porter is averaging like 22 and 9, 42 from three. They've got Jokic, they've got Jamal Murray. They're really stacked, and the Nuggets have always been a tough team, and I think they've had some tough matchups in the past playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Jeremy Grant got some defense there.
He's played some good
So
games, big
yeah,
offensive nights. Paul Millsap. I mean, he's
yeah,
been old. He's not Atlanta Paul Millsap, but he has still shown this year he can put up 20. You know, he he gives you another dynamic to that offense. Again, haven't seen enough from Rudy Gobert since the restart. Um, it's basically kind of been the Donovan Mitchell show,
it has.
and unless they get some help, I I'd be hard pressed to think that they're going to win one, let alone four.
Wow.
I think they will sneak one in there, but I've got Nuggets in five.
Okay, that's I could definitely see that with Conley being out. That's tough. People love Rudy Gobert. He's an impact player, no doubt. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. To me, he's not a guy that's going to put a team on his back like Jokic can.
No.
So the Jazz offense, like you said, the firepower, and they don't even have Bojan Bogdanovic.
No.
So with the wrist, so that's a lot of concerns there. The oof, before the season started, I really liked the Jazz,
Yeah.
but of course, you have to throw all of that out the window. So yeah, it's hard for me to get on board, but I unfortunately I have to agree with you. I have to. I said the Jazz were a dark horse at the beginning of the year, but I'm gonna take a one-sided approach with the Nuggets on this one, and also say in five, Nuggets in five.
Things in order for the Jazz to even have a chance, you're gonna need to see um, Joe Ingles and Donovan Mitchell perform like CJ and Dame. They're going to both have to put up 30, 40 a night in order to give them a chance. But I don't see that happening throughout an entire series.
Yeah, and real quick, the Jazz have lost a lot of single-digit games
Mm-hmm.
in this restart. I think 4 games under 10 points, and then uh, Jokic destroyed them in the regular season. I
Mm-hmm.
think Denver was like 3-0
Yeah.
against Utah.
Yeah, they
So
have their number.
I got to take Denver in this one. Yeah.
All right. Last matchup in the West for that first round: Clippers and your Dallas Mavericks.
This is a juicy one. Juicy.
Lot of fun basketball.
Oh man.
So give me your thoughts
Yeah.
on this one.
Well, the Clippers have been one of the more interesting teams since this restart because they really haven't had their full championship squad that Doc wants.
Yep.
So we know what the Clippers can do at full strength,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a pretty tough team. But is there chemistry there right now? Is something to look for. They have all the talent they need, and I think what they're really happy with is Zubac. He's been the second rebounder behind or third rebounder behind Giannis and Embiid this bubble. So
Mm-hmm.
he's been a stud, and I I don't know the to talk about more like Kawhi is an elite defender and PG that they're tough. They
Mm-hmm.
got some time together this bubble, and that might be all they need to carry them at the end of the day. Um, but so I think the only negative is really the injuries, the chemistry. Now, when you get into it, um, I really let's talk about the Maverick side. They have been one of the most efficient offenses this season, and I think they have averaged 125 points in the bubble,
Yep.
which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So they're unbelievable. The Mavericks, and I saw them play a game against the Warriors earlier this year, and I was just amazed by Luca, and I don't want to put the team on one guy,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, him and Porzingis, both young stars, they're both hungry. They're making their playoff debuts, and JJ Barea gets good veteran presence. Don't overlook JJ. Okay,
Nope.
he's got a championship ring. Uh, Man,
They see
I
the.
think there's going to be one upset. Go for it.
Do you think this is the upset?
I think this is the upset. I
Wow.
think this is it. I'm feeling really good about Dallas. I think it's going to be a 7-gamer. It's going to be competitive. Ooh,
The
man.
the Mavs have a plethora of scoring options. Um,
They do.
Obviously Luca, KP, Seth Curry, one of the last few years, one of the most consistent 3-point shooters. Kleber chips in from night to night. You got Tim Hardaway. Um, these are all guys that can go in and put up 20 plus a night, and it's not just one of them that's going to do it. It's going to be one, two, or sometimes three. This is that you just don't know who. This isn't like offense goes to one guy, we shut him down, we're good. This is, you got to guard all five guys on the floor. Um, the one problem is they're playing the team that can do that. They're playing the team that can guard just about all five guys on the floor.
Yeah.
The Clippers didn't look the hottest in the bubble, but some guys had rest. They were without some guys sometime. So I believe Montrezl Harrell's supposed to be back later on. So for this series, I think starting game 1. So that's a big addition for them. There's more of that rebounding you were talking about earlier. But I think now they're fully healthy. They're a bit rested. Reggie Jackson's look good from time to time for the Clippers. Marcus Morris, a veteran guy, give you something good off the bench. Even Noah, Joakim Noah, at times has looked serviceable for this team. They just have such a deep bench. So many guys that can produce, on the floor, and I think they're just too deep for this Dallas team to compete because they're going to wear themselves out. The series might start 2-2, but I think eventually Dallas is going to get too worn out, and LA is just kind of coast for those last couple of games. But
Yeah. That's all. You're all right on those. I mean, the Clippers have an excellent defense, and I'm sure they're going to put a stop to something on that Mavericks offense. And Kawhi, I think, yeah, you're right. It could start 2-2. Then the Clippers finally start to figure out. They see what they have. They got some footage. They got some tape. They're smart enough and veteran enough to figure out the tendencies and. Um, the science and the numbers and all of that points to the Clippers. I just have to go. I have to go a little bit off the grid for at least one pick in each, and this is
your pick.
my one.
Okay, yeah, I think if there's going to be an upset, this very well could be the one. I will just point this out to you. They played once in the bubble. Clippers beat them 126-111.
Mm-hmm.
They held them to their lowest points in the bubble. Second lowest. The Suns held them to their lowest points in the bubble. Hey, you know what? It's playoff basketball. There's going to be some upsets. I can hop on board with this Mavs in 7.
Hey, you don't have to agree with me.
Hey, it's like there's always bound to have one upset. This is for fun. You know, I don't think I'd go out and put my house on a bet for the Clippers, but I do agree with you. I think if there's going to be one upset, I do like the Mavs the best. So I can hop on board with this. Mavs in 7 here.
Fun to watch. 7
Cool.
games.
All right, so let's go to the East first round here. With our first matchup, 1-8. I don't think there's much to be said here. Bucks, Magic.
Yeah. The only thing we all know who's going to win this one.
Yeah.
Well, for our listeners out there, we'll just give a quick little preview of what we're dealing with. This is home cooking for Orlando, right? This is they're feeling pretty good, but at the end, and I love Vucevic. He's a great player. He's been good in the bubble. Aaron Gordon, phenomenal. But like, even if those guys and Fournier are solid, they don't have Jonathan Isaac, and he was their best bet at maybe defending Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
And the Magic really shouldn't be in the playoffs in the first place. So it's the Bucks. Now, to highlight the Bucks, I like the Bucks from the beginning of the season as my pick to win the whole thing, honestly. But Giannis is the MVP, and he's arguably the MVP of the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And
whoa, that's a bold prediction right there.
Arguably, okay. I know there's a couple names out there, but okay, he's in the conversation. So, the Bucks are just they're so good defending the inside. With you got Giannis and both of the Lopez brothers, and that's really the Magic's strength is they can play big ball inside. But so if the Magic are going to have the chance, they're going to have to really shoot well from downtown. The perimeter defense of the Bucks is, if there's a thing that they're lacking, it's perimeter 3-point defense. However, Eric Bledsoe's a pretty good defender on his own.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, they don't have a lot of weaknesses, and you can pick apart the Bucks in a couple different ways. But at the end of the day, I think it's their conference to lose.
Yep. Hey, the Bucks came in basically the last few games. I know Giannis was suspended for the last game of the bubble.
Leave it to a Michigan guy to provoke him.
Yeah. Michigan fans had fun with that. Hey, we're in everyone's head, but he got a big rest there. I don't think he played a whole ton of minutes the last 4 games of the bubble, so he's fresh, as if he wasn't already with a 3-month vacation essentially. But he's had some rest. The Bucks haven't been great in this bubble, but they also haven't been playing to full potential, giving a lot of their bench guys minutes, making sure to keep, because they got some older guys on their team, but giving them some rest, 20 minutes a night maybe, just stay in the groove but not wear them out. This is a dangerous team, and I mean you've got some young guys that can help too. This is an open shut case though. This is Milwaukee in 4, and each game's going to be 10 plus. I'm sorry, Orlando, but
yeah, I could see the Magic getting one game, just like a kind of a calibration game for the Bucks, just in the sense that because they haven't been the best in the bubble, but that'll change real fast. But yeah, if you want to put the Bucks in 4 or 5, doesn't really matter to me. I think you made an excellent point that they have slid a little bit in the bubble, but no, they're going to be they're going to be tough.
Yep. So the other 4-5 matchup, the Ty Warren, the Jimmy Butler, right here.
This is going to be a really good one.
This is drama right here. Now the big question is, can the Indiana offense remain as explosive as it's been? And that's the big question. 6-2 in the bubble, as opposed to the Heat I think they had 3 wins throughout that time. Yeah. So I was kind of thinking, hey, I think this is the Heat's to lose. Jimmy Butler in the playoffs is a different animal. He has that playoff intensity. I think he'll be having the guys playing real well. But as I thought about it more, that team's just too young right now. It's not their time to make a big deal about it, if you will. I just think too many inexperienced guys. Whereas the Pacers have a bit more experience. They have a bit more firepower. They're playing great. I mean, oftentimes you'll see so many teams get hot right before the playoffs, and it carries through the playoffs. And I think that's what's going to happen here with Indiana.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. On that point, I think Oladipo being back and healthy is a big part of their success throughout this whole playoffs. So that's a huge boost for them. I mean, clearly T.J. Warren. I mean, that's a huge boost that they got there too. And man, Indiana's always been stingy defensively, and we're gonna really get some good basketball out of the Warren Butler matchup. And I think Miles Turner is a big key to this Indiana defense because the inside matchup with Bam Adebayo. But I think the Pacers and one of our friends is going to be very happy with this. I think they're going to be one of the tough teams to watch in the East.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, now the Heat they've been very good this year. They've kind of surprised a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Bam is not a guy. I love Bam. Bam is great, but he's not a guy that can carry his team. And Jimmy Butler can. We've seen that. But like you said, when you have guys like Kendrick Nunn and Duncan Robinson, and I know Tyler Hero has been fantastic, that's a lot to put on the young guys. And Butler can take a lot of that heat, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But Hero, I think he's had 12 turnovers in the seeding games, and he had like 5 in the Milwaukee loss. So that's some of the rookie type things you might see. Is mental errors, the shooting, like is that going to be consistent under pressure? It could be one of those situations where we're too young and dumb, like nobody cares, we're going to do it. But man, it's tough because the Heat are good, but I've always been a fan of the way that the Pacers play because they're consistent, and the defense at the end of the day usually wins. So I'm going to take the Pacers here in about I'm going to say 6.
Okay. And just reminder, Derek Jones is going to be out for who knows how long, but he did have that pretty rough collision there in the last game.
Sure.
So he was about 10 points a game in the bubble. So that's a tough loss for them. And we'll see. I don't know if he's ready to play game 1. They haven't said anything yet. I think he still had to get some MRIs done. Current right now, just a neck strain, but I think that's a big loss off the bench for the Heat. And I think Indiana cools off a little bit, but I don't think it's enough for the Heat to take advantage of that. They did split during the bubble. Both teams won one, but I think the Pacers here in 6 as well.
For sure. Yeah, good points. Yeah, come on.
All right, next one. Everyone's favorite matchup right now. Celtics-Sixers.
Mm. It's going to be another fun one here.
Your battle of eccentric personalities with Joel and Marcus Smart.
Yeah. Yeah, Embiid is a show. No matter hope when he's on the court or when he's off the court, he's a show.
Mm-hmm.
So, gosh, this is the Sixers. I think underdelivered this year in a lot of ways. They were supposed to be better than even though they had a good year, they're supposed to be better, and part of that is health. And now they're going to be without Ben Simmons, which is a huge loss. But
Mm-hmm.
I will say that they actually have been pretty good without Ben Simmons on the floor. I think they've been a little bit more efficient. Like I think the numbers say 121 points per 100 possessions when he's out versus 108 per 100 possessions when he's in. So that's something to watch for. I think as good as Simmons is, that leaves more for Joel Embiid and Al Horford and Tobias Harris and some of their bench. So I do like what the Sixers can do. I think their whole strategy, and if they're going to have any chance against Boston, it's again playing that big matchup. Their whole strategy was going big with those three towers in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So Al Horford is against his former team is going to have a lot of chip on his shoulder.
Yep.
I think he's going to have to play out of his mind. Embiid, I think, will play out of his mind as he usually does. It's just his question is the health and can he stay. But when he's on the floor, as we know, he's a huge impact player. Now the argument for the Celtics is they're really good, and people were worried about Kemba and his health, but I think his knee is all good. So Kemba being strong, and of course they got the power of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Hayward's looked pretty good this year, so they've got some really good wings. I'm really torn on this one, Josh. I don't know if you can sway me one way or another here.
Um, one of the biggest problems is the Sixers have had their three core guys that prefer to operate inside in Embiid, Horford, and Simmons. Now at the beginning of the year, I thought getting Horford to pair with Embiid just wasn't a good idea. I didn't think it was a great fit. All that money, and to be honest, if they don't go far, one of them's going to be moved. I know Horford's contract's going to be tough to move, and they'd probably rather keep Embiid. But like you said, with Simmons gone, they've been more efficient, and I think that's due to stretching the floor a bit more. They have some good defenders. They have Thibault has been great this whole year. That's why his rookie year, I believe. Milton Richardson, Tobias is a decent defender. They've had a lot of guys pitching in. Their bench is fairly deep. Alec Burks. Um, uh, so I unfortunately I think the Celtics are just better. Um, I with it's a really tough matchup. Both teams, they love to go at each other. You're going to get the best out of both teams. And I know the stats and numbers say that the Sixers have been better without Ben Simmons, but I think that's teams just trying to figure out a different way to play him. I don't think that keeps up. And with Kemba back, that Boston team's a totally different animal. We saw Jason Tatum last year went off in the playoffs. I think you'll see that again. They're just too stacked, and they've been good defensively. I don't think they'll be able to shut down both Horford or Embiid, and I think one of those two are going to be their leading scorers, probably Embiid. But I just think Boston has the better coach, and in these matchups where you got two teams that are hard to decide who you think's better, I think the better coach ultimately comes out and helps their team push forward. And Boston has a better coach
Yeah,
in Brad
Bradley
Stevens.
is pretty proven, and I think the Celtics are a little bit more. They've been here before now. Some of these young guys have a little bit more experience. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to take Boston in 7 because I think they're going to wear down those bigs of the Sixers. I don't think the Celtics go all the way, and the reason is because they're going to have to play some pretty tough bigs, and I don't know if the smaller guy approach is just in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
I think your Marc Gasols, Ibaka's, and Brook Lopez those guys are going to wear on you
Yep.
after a while. So, but I think you're right. Kemba has been very efficient, 47%, I believe, from the field, something like that. So, yeah, I'm taking the Celtics in 7 here.
Wow. So do you think it's going 7?
I do, because I think Embiid is not going to settle for anything less.
Hey, I can hop on. I'd say Celtics in 6.
Okay.
Very well could go to 7. I think, it's weird. It's going to be a close series, but I feel as though you're going to see some blowout games. Games
For
of,
sure.
of 10
It's
points
gonna
plus.
happen.
And I think actually a majority of those games are going to go that way. But here we go, Celtics in 7. And then,
Calibration period. Yeah.
yeah. And then again, I think this is another open shut case. Raptors Nets.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Nets, thank you very much. See you next year.
Yeah. And again, just for our listeners out there, what we're dealing with, the Nets, Karis LeVert, hey, like, what a guy. He's been a nice kind of thought he was good, and then he got hurt, and then now he's back and he's good again. So it's nice that the Nets have something like that for when KD returns next year. They'll have some support, um, but no Kyrie, no Dinwiddie. They actually surprised some people in the bubble. They went 5-3, so hats off to them. And they beat the Bucks and the Clippers in some of those games, but obviously they weren't really playing for anything.
No, they were resting a lot of their starters too.
Yeah, the Nets are pretty good defensively, but really I'm just trying to make the Nets fans feel a little bit better here. I think I think they know what's coming. If the Nets want to get excited about something, it's Jamal Crawford coming off the bench and shooting the lights out. But at the end of the day, Toronto is one of the scariest teams of this field. One, obviously, because they're the reigning champions,
Mm-hmm.
and also because they went 7-1 in this bubble, and also because they were one of the first teams to get here into the bubble. So, gosh, and Marc Gasol, he's back to his old form. So he keeps that up defensively. They're gonna be tough. The Siakam, he's an elite option. OG, Anunoby, I can't say his last
Anunoby.
name. Anunoby, yeah, guy's been unbelievable. So, man, the Raptors scare me, and they scare me because of obviously of what they did to my Warriors last year. But
Yep.
they are really, if they're going to lose against the Nets, if they're going to lose against some of these other teams, it's really going to be on them. I think you were very well going to see a Bucks Raptors semi again because now if there's one thing that Toronto really struggles with is it's their half court game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's their half court game hasn't really had that punch. So, yeah. What else you got?
You said it earlier. Defense wins in a lot of these situations, and as we know, the Raptors are the best team defensively. They actually took a step forward from last year, which is scary.
Yeah.
How do you lose a top 3 defender in the league and take a step forward defending? I think a lot of that saw steps taken from Siakam and Anunoby, reemergence of Gasol, Fred VanVleet. he's been stellar this year. And then a lot of great bench play as well. A lot of guys chipping in every night. This is a very unselfish team, and especially when it comes to playoffs, it is hard to beat unselfish teams. Especially if you're a team without arguably your three best players, which the Nets are, in Durant, Kyrie, and Spencer Dinwiddie. But this open shot, Raptors in 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Raptors in 4, and again, their defense has been absolutely elite. If you want to look at some caveats real quick, they have turned the ball over the most in the bubble, about 18.7 points a game, but they led defensive efficiency, and if any team wants to beat Toronto, it's really going to have to be they have to take away their transition game.
Mm-hmm. Now we'll stay in the East here, and we'll just kind of snake around. So that 2-3 matchup, Raptors, Celtics. Now, the one team to beat the Raptors in the bubble were the Celtics. So that's got to give them some hope. I think it was like a 20-point game. It wasn't really close. They had a big lead at halftime and just kind of rolled through. They had everyone kind of chipping in. I don't think you'll see that again.
I agree. I don't think you can. It's hard to take those at face value, just because of the situation.
Yep. And I think Toronto's going to use that to their advantage. Now, my one issue is, and he was better last year, but the leader of this team, this is Kyle Lowry's team. Has been for years.
About him yet. Yeah.
He isn't the best in come playoff time. He's always been kind of, and last year he was close, to being, regular season Kyle, but he always seems to take a step back or 2 steps back when he had DeMar. Those two were just, something happened come playoff time, and those two are not the same. And you got to wonder, is that going to happen again? This team, you're going to need to see, if that happens, you're going to need to see Siakam and Van Vliet are going to be the biggest contributors on offense. And can those two together kind of take down Boston? It's the question. I don't think so. I think Kemba always shows up in big time situations, and I think that's going to be his series. I think he's going to put up near 30 a night. I think Jason Tatum's going to have a big series, and I think Boston's going to beat Toronto here in 7. Great, it's going to be a great series. But I think you're going to see a slight shift in Toronto's play, and Boston's going to start to really get rolling here.
Well, I have to disagree with you on that one. I just can't see it. I think 6 or 7 games as well, Toronto. But I everything you said is valid about the Celtics. But no, the experience, the championship pedigree. I think Kyle Lowry's a different guy now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have to revert back to defense wins games, and the Celtics are going to have an issue going inside against your Siakams and against your Ibaka, your Gasol. So, and the thing is, whereas the Sixers don't really have the depth to kind of shoot around all of that, I think the Raptors actually can, and they can run with the Celtics. I mean, they ran with the Warriors last year, so I unfortunately have to disagree, but I got the Raptors in 6 or 7 in that one.
I think after last year, I think Boston wants revenge, and I think they're stepping it up, and
they'll be charged for sure.
I'm gonna, for my sake, I feel very strongly about this Boston, which means, of course, as I when I do these brackets, the teams I feel strongest about are always the ones that let me down. So I'm going to put Boston here on mine, and I'm going to put Boston in 7, which means Toronto in 5.
Hey, you put what you put. It's all good.
All right, next one, Milwaukee, Indiana. This is interesting.
Oh man, yeah, yeah.
This,
You look at the potential, the hypotheticals here. It's fun doing these brackets because it's like when you're doing your March Madness bracket,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes you can't always look up if you're trying to win. Obviously, we're not doing this here, but if you're trying to win your March Madness bracket competition, sometimes you can't actually look at, oh well, I've got the 7 and 2 in this matchup. The 2 is definitely going to win. Or sometimes I've got you get down to your final 4 matchup and you've got like a 1 against a 4. But then when it actually happens, it's nothing like it, right? And
mm-hmm.
so sometimes when you're playing in your bracket, you have to be like, well, like in this case, some people think that the Heat might actually win. So in order to protect myself, I'm going to take Milwaukee in this one to make sure I get the points for Milwaukee winning.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Even though I don't think that's going to happen, and to look.
Oh, still there? Looks like we got a little bit of technical difficulties here. See if we can get him back on the line.
So I don't know what happened. Where did I lose you?
You just started talking about how some people tend to protect themselves taking picks when they're doing NCAA brackets.
Okay. Shoot. All right, that's okay. Are you gonna start playing again?
Yeah. No, I got a recording right now, so.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yep.
Yeah,
No,
well,
you're good.
all I was saying, was sometimes you kind of like, well, I Pacers will actually beat the Heat, but in the event that it doesn't happen, I'm gonna take the Bucks anyway because I'm gonna protect myself with that pick.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm looking at it at face value, if it's Bucks versus Pacers, I think that Giannis and the Lopez brothers are exactly what Indiana does not want to face. You've got Miles Turner and Sabonis in the middle, and the Bucks are the worst team against that.
Mm-hmm.
I think because they're going to be a nightmare for them. So, I do think Bucks will take this series in I'm going to say 6 games.
It took my thought right out. If there's one team that has no problem facing, I shouldn't say no problem, but has, I guess, the easiest time, if you will, to face Giannis, or most equipped, it's the Pacers. They have guys that can handle that. Now, Giannis has really developed his game over the years, and has the ability to drive and kick, more than he has years, and he's been surrounded with a team that can do that. So many shooters everywhere. Indiana's a great defensive team. They're going to be able to shut down some of those shooters. But I think Milwaukee's one of those teams that you give them one thing, they are more than comfortable taking the next thing. If you shut down their perimeter game, they're going to go inside and beat you inside. If you collapse that defense, take away the lane, take away the ability of Giannis to kind of get some of those easier, if you will, baskets, they're going to kick the ball out. And I think having Eric Bledsoe uh, is another great thing because you have another guy that can control a game. Kind of obviously not nearly as skilled as Giannis, but he has the ability to command defensive respect and kind of do things that he wants to do. And because of that, I think that's where they're going to excel. And I don't think the games are going to be close. Indiana's going to take a couple, but yeah, Bucks and 6.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so over to the West, Lakers Rockets. I'm sorry, but this is when LeBron really starts to turn it on. And I think he's going to have his guys ready. The Rockets just don't. The Rockets just don't have the firepower to be able to go with it. I think you may see a slump in shooting from them, and I just think the Lakers are going to be playing some good basketball, and kind of this is their series. I have them in 5.
Wow. I know. Again, we said we can't really take the bubble games at face value, and
Yep.
the last one I was just watching the one with LeBron. Obviously, wasn't playing.
Mm-hmm.
The Rockets literally had anything they wanted with the Lakers. So this is one where I'm tempted to take Houston because I really like what they got going over there. As much as people dislike James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Gosh, this is a hard one for me because, I even have some doubts that the Lakers can get through Portland. But, if I have to concede, I'm okay taking the Lakers here against Houston. But 5 games?
Think it stretches to more?
Houston is going to make it a little bit more interesting than that, and then I think it's just because with the 3 ball, you're never out of games.
Yep.
They can get themselves back in no time. So they're going to have issues defending LeBron. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. And Anthony Davis
and AD. I love PJ Tucker. That guy can play on anybody, but it's. Yeah, all right. I'll go Lakers on this one, but
okay.
You got to at least put it in 6 games.
At least in 6. See, as you're talking about that bubble game with the Lakers and not having LeBron, their difference when he's on the floor compared to when he's not.
Oh, it's massive.
It's miles difference. And I think that's what you're gonna see is the Lakers or the Rockets made it look good, against the Lakers, but. You have arguably one of the biggest swing pieces, in these playoffs in LeBron James, and they've got some guys that have been here: Quinn Cook, Danny Green, guys that have all been on, championship-winning teams, so they know how to win. They know what they have to do in these playoffs, and I'm sorry, Houston, but you have how many guys that have been to the finals? Is it just Russ? Right, and he didn't even win it. Am I remembering correctly?
Harden was on that team.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He was. So they had those two biggest pieces, but again, they don't know how to win it. We've seen time and time again. Rockets were close that year that they took Golden State to 7. And I know Chris Paul is injured, but my God, missing was 27 in a row.
That was crazy. Yeah.
Come on, if you.
It can kill you. You can live and die by the 3 ball.
Yep, and that's what they do. That's the team that does it. So
it's a tough one. Yeah. I'll revert back to my Kyle Kuzma. I think he's going to be the X factor.
Okay.
So, he's the guy that's going to give the Lakers the extra edge.
Mm-hmm. All right, Denver, Dallas.
Hmm. Now, this is where I might use my March Madness ploy in here,
Okay.
because in the event that Mavericks don't get past the Clippers, I think the Nuggets could get past the Clippers, and I also think they'll get past Dallas.
Okay.
Denver is hungry, and Denver has had some tough luck in the playoffs these last few years.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, barring any health concerns, I've got to roll with Denver in that potential matchup. Um, Doncic Jokic should be a fun one, but Jokic does everything that Doncic does.
Yeah, he's just bigger.
Yeah. So, and Porzingis being hot the whole playoffs is definitely a question mark. So I'm taking Denver.
The
It's going to be 6 games.
I think either whether it is Dallas or the Clippers, I don't see Denver moving past. And I think the one thing you touched on is the injury concerns. Um, they're missing Gary Harris and Will Barton, two guys that they'll need in that second round. Um, but it's just hard for me to take Dallas over Denver.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I think this is Denver's make it or break year. Um,
definitely.
they have to do something or that project's going to be blown up because for whatever reason they can't seem to make it to the conference finals, let alone the NBA finals. I think they do have a different hunger here. They're going to struggle. They're going to struggle. There's going to be some high scoring games for sure. Um, you know what, Denver. We're gonna assume that they're gonna be just about fully healthy. Um, Denver in 6.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Denver's. What was your final
Yeah,
thought on
Denver
that?
in
Denver in 6.
6.
Okay, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I thought. Cool. So Denver in 6 here. All right, Lakers Nuggets 1-3 matchup.
This is our Western Finals, huh?
This is our Western Conference Finals.
Gosh, man, I hate putting the Lakers in the finals. It's tough because they are the team that presumably comes out of our bracket the way that we have constructed it
Mm-hmm.
today. Um, I'm definitely taking the Lakers over the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a really hard time with,
Lakers in the final.
yeah, because I'm like, well, the Clippers, well, the Rockets, well, the Thunder, because the West is so stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Any of these teams can get hot and upset anybody.
For sure.
This is not our traditional number one seed where they're or like the Warriors where you knew they were going to
Hey,
roll in
this is the
there and
best
just
team.
destroy everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, this is not. We're not getting this. And now maybe if it was in the regular season, we could say that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, oh yeah, Clippers or Lakers, but it's such anybody's series. But for the purposes of this, I'll take the Lakers over the Nuggets.
Okay.
And I think we've kind of stressed potential matchups and concerns for both of those teams.
Mm-hmm. Um, Nuggets are a deeper team, for sure, but they're inexperienced when they get here. Um, they just, I don't think they will know what to do. This will be great for them next year. And I'm gonna be honest, I did one earlier. Did a bracket, and I had the Clippers winning this one in
Okay,
6.
so you got behind my little upset, and then we're running
So
with it.
yep. Now in a more, if I were to be betting on this, I would have Clippers here, and I would have the Clippers beating the Lakers. I would have
definitely see that.
Clippers in
Yeah.
6, but the Lakers are just they're just a better team. I think this is one of those where you see, kind of like you have Kyle Kuzma being your guy. I think this is where you see a different guy really step it up. And my bet is Danny Green.
Oh
Um,
yeah, oh yeah.
I think he's often been forgotten, and
He's killed
um,
the Warrior. He hates the Warriors, man.
yeah,
I mean, every he screwed us last year in the finals.
yep. He knows when to perform, and I think he's gonna say, all right, hey, give me the ball, let me shoot, and I want to contribute. I think he's your big guy here. That's really gonna help out the Lakers. Now, did you how Lakers and how many?
Oh, against the Nuggets, honestly, I could see it going in five.
Going in five?
LeBron does not want to play extra games,
No, he doesn't.
so
And
I could see it going in five.
you don't want to give this Lakers or I'm sorry, this Nuggets team a chance to run with you because while they may not have the experience, they do have a lot of the firepower. Um, yeah, yeah. LeBron doesn't want to play with this food here this time.
Mhm.
Um, I think this is a mountain he's going to climb fairly easily. So and then our East, which is also 1-3 matchup, Bucks Celtics. What do you?
Well, I think it. I mean, I said earlier in this that I thought it was going to be more Bucks Raptors, and I think that's a seven gamer. Could go
Mm-hmm.
either way.
Okay.
But in this case, the Bucks are. I think the Bucks got it. I
Okay.
think the Bucks are taking this
Okay.
for again reasons we've already mentioned.
Too
Because
too good at inside.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Who? Yeah, I can see the Raptors have some guys that can stick with Giannis, so I think it makes it a bit more
yeah.
interesting. But who?
And better perimeter shooting. Well, the perimeter shooting is pretty good for the Celtics and the Raptors,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Yeah. Who's gonna stick with Giannis with the Celtics?
yeah,
Um.
that's hard. That's really tough to defend.
Mm-hmm. And um, Boston has looked at times. You know, defensively they seem to check in and out. Um, and the Bucks, because they can score so many ways, it's not the team you want to do that with.
I was watching the Bucks Celtics bubble game a while back,
Mm-hmm.
and the Bucks destroyed them,
Yeah.
and it was like there was lapses defensively.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucks were doing different things. They were running a lot of different things that, like, wow, you're right. They do have more dimensions to their game. So Daniel Theus has been, or Theis Theus, he's been a revelation, but
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely the Bucks to lose.
And I think that's why the Bucks didn't look so great in the bubble is they were trying a lot of things for these playoffs. They were preparing themselves to get to the finals. Hey, we're
Yeah,
going against all these different. We need to be able to beat them every single which way. I think that's going to pay off here. Um, I there's just something that I'm afraid the Celtics are gonna count themselves out beforehand, um, for whatever reason, and I think they're essentially gonna hand the series to the Bucks. Um,
sounds
I,
good to
I
me.
think that one goes 5.
Okay, okay.
All right, the long anticipated finals of Lakers Bucks, which everyone thought is how it's going to go at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's come full circle, and uh, partially because I'm biased against the Lakers, and partially because I've had Giannis on my fantasy team for the last few years.
So this is
But
totally objective, isn't it?
oh yeah, totally. But to try to be objective, to as best as I can,
Mm-hmm.
the Bucks ran through the East. That these last two seasons, really,
Mm-hmm.
they uh, to me, and I know the West is not the East, but the Bucks have not really had any health concerns. Knock on wood, all year,
Yep.
and the Lakers have had a lot of, and the
Yep.
Lakers are not at full strength. They're missing. Avery Bradley. They're missing Rajon Rondo. They don't know what his status is. They're and the Bucks are virtually the same team, but just a little bit bulked up for when they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that experience goes a long way. They're hungry. Giannis needs to prove himself. The Giannis LeBron matchup is what the NBA wants.
Yeah.
That's what the referees will try to get.
Yep.
Not just kidding. But it's I gotta take the Bucks. First time since 1971. Milwaukee Bucks are your NBA champions.
Hey, I'm on board with that. Again, we said throughout the entire time, too many weapons. Now they're not gonna run through the Lakers they have with other teams, because you just have too many savvy vets with the Lakers. AD's a great defender. Don't get me wrong. And we know he's probably going to be the guy to guard Giannis. But the problem is, I think you're going to see Giannis move a bit away from the basket, and that pulls AD away from the basket, allowing other guys to contribute there.
Chris Middleton.
Yes. He's great inside. He's smart. He knows how to find those spaces, and he makes those runs to get balls in optimal, within 10 feet of the basket to put up some of those easier baskets. He's overlooked sometimes, honestly, and it's he's gonna be a big factor. The Lakers don't do well when they have multiple bigs on the floor. And so if you're working with Anthony Davis away from the basket defensively, they're going to want a rim protector, whether it be JaVale or Dwight. And I think that's going to throw their offense out of sync too much. So you're not going to see it a lot. And because of that, I think the Bucks are going to be able to take advantage. Honestly, you know what? This is we're going to talk probably a big prediction. I'm gonna go bold here, and my big prediction is I don't think Anthony Davis averages more than 20 points in this series. I think he goes
in the series. Okay.
Yes, I think he goes rather pedestrian for his skill set in this series. And I think you're gonna see him maybe 18 points a game. This series is gonna go 6, but I think LeBron's gonna be a bit stranded. It's gonna look like a little bit like it was with Cleveland, where it appears he has no help. He'll have some, but not significant enough help to really make do with who he's facing.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen exactly AD under 20, but the argument for that is LeBron's going to try to put the team on his back like he always does.
Yep.
And LeBron might have 40, maybe 50. But how efficient is he going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean for guys like Anthony Davis or Kyle Kuzma or Danny Green? I could see Danny Green acting as your J.R. Smith, a better version of J.R. Smith. But yeah, let's pencil it in. Bucks in 6 games.
Bucks in 6. All right, and here we're using, I've never heard of this website, paspn.net for their bracket here. Not going to submit it because it's just for fun. This is just for the sake of our video. Yeah, we're finishing off with Bucks in 6. And we're going to wrap it up here. Bold predictions, things to look out for. Anything you got?
Oh, yeah. I don't like to steal other people's bold predictions, but I do really like the one that Damian Lillard breaks Michael Jordan's record for 63 points in a game in the playoffs.
Okay.
I have to steal that one. And if I were to take my own, let's say that Oh, you know what? I should have had this one ready, but I didn't. So um, we're going to say that the finals MVP is uh, Brooke Lopez.
Brooke Lopez, Finals MVP. Hey, that's kind of the route I was going for. Mine wouldn't be as bold. I honestly think Chris Middleton could be Finals MVP.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Another bold. I had my Anthony Davis under 20. I want to give one more.
Yep.
Let's go. James Harden is going to have 4 games of over 40 points in this playoffs.
Ooh.
4 games of over 40
Okay.
points. I think you'll see at least one 40-point triple-double in this playoff from James Harden. And I think one of those 40-point games, he'll be above 50. So
All right.
I'm predicting
All right.
big game there, or big playoffs from James Harden. So that about wraps it up here today on the Offsides podcast. So we want to thank you for listening. Hey, we'd love to hear your feedback. Any comments you have, thoughts, anything like that, feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you very much for listening. Steven, got anything else?
No, thank you again for having me on. Offsides, you guys have been great. So hopefully we build a nice viewership here or listenership very soon.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good one, everyone.
All right. Take care.